Hey you guys, thanks for stopping by the channel. My name is Keisha and you're watching Zaza K Creations. On my channel, I'm sharing my sewing journey with you all. So I wanted to make sure that I made some time to film some content. Actually, I am in the middle of picking up the kids from school this afternoon. It is an extremely hot day here in Maryland. And we have some things on our agenda for this evening. Primarily, my little one is getting her hair done in time for her spring concert this week, so that's first up on the agenda. And then she also wanted to do a Starbucks run. She likes to get their strawberry milkshake. I mean, it's supposed to be a frat, but obviously I'm not letting her have coffee, so she's just getting her strawberry milkshake, and then we're gonna make our way to her hair appointment. But I wanted to come on to let you guys know that I am nearly done working on my Simplicity pattern, Simplicity 8911, which was described as a Mrs. Caftan. So a few things about that pattern. It is very, very easy for beginners. If you're trying to get your Sojo back, it's really easy and simple to work on. Again, it's described as a Mrs. Caftan. If my memory serves me correctly, the pattern only calls for knits, and it's ITY knit, modal knit, jersey, and I think I saw bamboo. So I did a double brush poly knit for mine when I had it in my stash. The pattern pieces, it only required 3. So while I thought there were 4, the 4th piece was actually a guide for the elastic. So there's an elastic guide in the pattern that will help you measure and size out the elastic that goes around the neck of the garment. And my plan is to finish that caftan off tonight. So I probably could have had this done in like a day, or rather like a couple hours, like 2 hours literally, cutting to sewing. But I had to break up my time because of work and other obligations this week, so it did take me 2 days, 3 days to get it done. All I have left to do right now is one of the armbands and the hem around the bottom. So let me tell you guys, I had two not issues, but just 2 things that happened. So as I was trying to attach and sew the armband onto the armhole, what I noticed at the bottom was a gap. There was a gapping there. So I looked back at the pattern instructions and realized that I had not matched up the proper notches, and I think that's why I had that gapping hole at the bottom of one of the armbands. So my plan is to go back this evening and do a simple hand stitch just to sew that hole up, in the hopes that that will be enough to not make that hole get any bigger over time. Now the second armband, which I still have to do, I very well could do that the proper way, making sure that the notches are matched up properly. But if I do that, then one armband will have the seam across the top on the top, or the other will have the armband seam on the bottom. So you'll see it here but not on here. So to avoid an inconsistent look, I just decided I'll just do the other one the way I did the first one, and then I'll go and do a quick needle and thread stitching to get that hole closed. And when I get back home, I'll show you guys exactly what I'm talking about before I sew it up. But yeah, so I only have left to do the hem on the bottom and the hole, the armband, and stitching up the 2 little holes. In terms of which view I sewed, I was supposed to be sewing up the shorter version, which I believe was view B. And when I tried it on, I realized I cut out the pattern piece for view A. However, and if I'm not mistaken, I'm gonna go back home, the piece I cut out, piece 1 and 2, it actually says for view A and view B. But there are 2 lines on the pattern, which normally are your cutting lines if you want to make it longer or shorter. So I think I should use those 2 lines as my guide to make the shorter version. I'm not sure. I'm driving and thinking about this. As I was driving, I was thinking about it more, and I think I needed to probably cut on those 2 lines to create the shorter version. But I will tell you, I tried on the longer version and I do still like how it fits. I like how it looks on me. Yeah, so I am going to go ahead and get this evening with my girls started and finished, and when I get back home, once I get them settled, I will go ahead and show you guys where things are, and hopefully and prayerfully where they end on this caftan make. All right, so it is about 10:30 and hair has been done, Starbucks was done, and I did a quick run for their dinner on the way in tonight. Stopped 2 different places for their dinner this evening, and the kids are now settled. So what I'm definitely going to do is show you guys some of the things I encountered with this pattern I was making, or that I'm working on, and I don't know, I'll see how I feel in a little bit, if I feel up to finishing this dress tonight. I mean, it's not a whole lot again that needs to get done, but truth be told, I'm a little tired, and I need to finish out the hem on this dress, and I need to attach the armband on it. These are fairly easy and simple things to do, but sometimes when I get tired, I just don't like to do a lot of sewing because I tend to make mistakes. So let me just see how I feel. But let me show you guys some things I talked about earlier in the video. Okay, so here we have pattern piece 1, as you can see there, and you're supposed to use pattern piece 1 for views A and B. And I told you earlier that when I tried this on, I thought it was quite long for view B, which is the view I actually wanted to sew. And when I came back to look at the pattern piece, I noticed that there are these lines here that I thought were cut lines to make the pattern shorter or longer. And I think I was supposed to cut along that line here in order to make view B. But it did not say anywhere on this pattern piece cut here for view B. So maybe that was just, you know, me misunderstanding. But when I looked at this pattern piece, to me, it did not look like if I cut this line here, it was going to provide the same drape as what you saw on the pattern envelope itself. So I think when I do this again, I will consider maybe cutting it along this line here to get the length for view B. And here is that little hole that I told you guys about. Trying to see, why don't you see it? Here we go. So there's a little bit of a hole right there, but when I take the fabric and cover it, the hole is no longer visible. So I'm just gonna do a hand stitch here just to kind of close that hole up, and once I go back and do the other armband, I will do the same. These dots here are washable. These are the dots for the notches, or for the markings for the for me to line up the armband to the armhole. And I used my my marker here, Mark Be Gone. This is water soluble ink, so when I wash this, it should come out. But yeah, so I'm just gonna do a quick hand stitch here just to kind of close up the hole. And I'm sure that when I sew the other armband, I will probably have a very similar gap at the bottom, which I'll have to sew up. So, and that will probably be right about here somewhere. All right, and though I did not mention it earlier, the pattern did also call for, as a tip or a suggestion, is not required, but it did recommend using twill tape or clear elastic along the shoulder seam that would prevent it from stretching over time. So I did go ahead and follow those instructions and put a clear elastic here along both of my shoulder seams to help stabilize it, for one, so that while I'm sewing it did not stretch, but then also again over time it will prevent the shoulders from stretching and enlarging with wear and time. Okay, so it's not quite 11 o'clock yet, and I think I'm gonna go ahead and finish out this dress tonight. I really want to be done with it so that I can start my weekend afresh and hopefully start on my next project, which is that simplicity button-up shirt that I've been wanting to make. So I'm gonna go ahead and see what I can do and get this finished tonight. The only thing I probably won't do tonight is the hand stitch, because that's just gonna probably add a little bit more time in my evening on this, and I don't wanna be long. I don't want to be doing this long. So, but that'll be a quick and easy thing I can probably do, just sitting in the car or something. So I'm just gonna go ahead and finish out this armband, do my hem at the bottom, and call it a night. So surprisingly, when I sewed up the second armband to the armhole, there was no hole, no gapping. So I don't know what that was about. Maybe I didn't pull the other armband up far enough on the armhole. I don't know, but yeah, there's no hole. So I just have to sew up the other side by hand. All right, and here is the finished look. I cut a size medium. It is supposed to fit like this, pretty oversized. I think once I dress this up, it might look a lot better. Right now, I think just because I'm wearing my head wrap and I'm not, dressed up with jewelry and shoes, it just looks like a nice lounge dress for the house. But the neckline is pretty clean. The shoulder seams turned out really nice, both sides. So I would definitely make it again, definitely in VB.